Welcome back. Today's project is a pair of Gaziano and Girling shoes, which is a relatively new company in terms of shoemaking, but it seems like they are gaining a lot of traction because of the quality of product they put out. They are quite famous because they tend to have a different sole structure. You can see in here that they have a very tiny waist. Also, they have this decoration on the sole that stitching is really tight. You can see how close the heel block is to the upper. The stitching, also density in here, not only on the Goodyear Welt area, but also in the rest of the construction of the shoe. There's so many small details that definitely make them stand out. They are not a cheap pair of shoes, but they are most definitely a pair of shoes that will last you for quite a while if you take proper care of them. After brushing them, I think, well, it makes sense for us to try and clean them as thoroughly as possible. I already worn them once. I should have shined them before, but I was kind of excited and bypassed that made and shine. Let's use the cleaner by Brift H, which is a solid cleaner, as opposed to, say, for instance, the Renomat, which is gonna be in a liquid state. I kind of like this a little bit better because it's solid, so you have a little more control on how much cleaner you get on the cloth and subsequently on the shoe. So it allows for you to have a little bit more control. I'm not saying that it's better, I'm just saying that I find it in that regard easier to manage. Like I was saying, these makers, it seems like the owners of the company were trained by famous shoemakers, which you can tell in the quality of the shoe. When we talk quality, it's a very ambiguous term. But what I'm talking about are the small details in the shoemaking, like I just discussed, how tight the stitching is. The details on the sole, the closed channel stitching, whereas that means you cannot see the stitching here in the sole, but it's there. It's just that they cut the leather, they do the stitching, and then they fold the leather back on it. So it's a little bit more laborious, but it's also a more elegant way of presenting the shoe. Materials that they use, the leather stacking of the heel, which is leather, not elements like paper or cardboard, which some makers use to cut costs. You can definitely tell that they have passion for what they do. I'm not saying that the other makers do not, but you can definitely see the difference when you pay for these shoes. They tend to be on the upper scale in terms of costs. Which, if you were to put it in perspective in terms of how much time they will last, how many times you're gonna wear it versus a cemented shoe, in the front end, the cemented shoe is gonna be more appealing because you're gonna spend anywhere from $75 to $150, but they will not last as much as a pair of properly constructed shoe. And it's not only that, it's the way they age also. When you have a shoe that is built on subpar quality materials, they age rather bad. When you have good leather shoes, they tend to improve in terms of appearance. If you were to buy a Chrome XL shoe, like a pair of boots, maybe like the Wolverine 1,000-mile boot that we conditioned in this channel a long time ago, actually. That shoe, with time, proper care, and with enough time, the shoe will patina. The leather will develop different colors and different textures of the leather, especially in the areas that get scuffed. But that is a different aging as opposed to cracking on the leather, because the leather is cheap, or peeling in a bad way. So yes, on the front end, buying properly constructed shoes in which they use good materials tends to be a little bit more expensive, but like I said, they age better, they last longer. And yes, there is that point of diminishing returns. On which a shoe might be too expensive for what you're getting, relatively speaking, but that is always going to be a matter of personal preferences as well. In this channel, I like to share with you different products, different makers of everything, cleaning materials, conditioning materials, and shoes are not the exception. So the shoes were relatively clean, that's why this step was rather fast. Well, at this stage, after applying the cleaner, because there might be substances in there that remain, I always suggest to play it safe and use the little bit of water to just remove anything that might have been left behind. It's not strictly necessary, but I think it makes sense. At least it does to me. So we'll go ahead and use some water to remove any excess of the cleaning cream that might have been left behind. It's an easy step. And it just ensures that there's nothing in there after the fact. Painless and quick. Okay, now we will move forward with the conditioning of the linings and the insoles, which are also made out of leather. This is important to keep these sections properly hydrated. That avoids cracking, which helps the overall structural integrity of the shoe. And it also helps for them to last longer. Don't forget to do back of the tongue, which is also leather lining, as well as the rest of the insole as much as you can, because there are certain parts where they're tricky to get by hand. You don't need that much, just need a small amount. There are several products that you can use for this. Some people would argue that adding creams will deter the overall functionality of the foot, especially because these creams have fats on them. And if you're wearing the shoe barefoot, it could promote sweating of the feet. Personally, I do not think that that's the case, because the product should be absorbed by the leather, and then by the time your shoe comes into contact with the actual leather, there shouldn't be anything there left behind. We will now condition the uppers. For the uppers, I will use a little bit of this Saphir Renovator. I will do it without the shoe tree in, because I want the insoles to also dry. A little bit of this Renovator goes a long way. I was reading on a couple of the shoe related forums that someone was using the Renovator and had issues with color. I would say that maybe if the person, which I think is the case, applied the Renovator and did not spread it and then went in and did something else and left it there on the surface, there could be some sort of color situation there. But then again, you're supposed to apply the product and work it immediately. You're not supposed to leave it sitting there. So again, maybe a user error. It's not like I'm getting any sort of sponsorship by saying that the products are not prone to cause issues. I'm just saying that if you use them correctly, I personally haven't had any issue, and you've seen me use them throughout several videos, and I cannot say that there has been any decoloration or any negative effect on the upper color of different brands of shoes, different styles of shoes, different colors of shoes. So from my first-hand experience, I can say that if you use the products correctly, you shouldn't face any issue. I'm not saying that it couldn't cause it if you leave it on the surface, but then again, I have never done it, I have never experienced it, so I wouldn't know. At least not for first-hand experience anyway. Let's check insoles. Looks like they're ready. So I will try to insert the shoe crease again. these shoes, the edges of the soles, they look nice, so I don't think I need to sand them. I do need to color them a little bit, but I think that is about it. Just with the renovator itself, you'll see that the shoe will develop a little bit of a shine. See, just with a little layer of Sapphire Renovator and some mild brushing, you can develop a nice subtle shine. I was reading the other day an article about how people become proficient at whatever activity they do, and there is a theory about 10,000 hours, which states that you need at least 10,000 hours on any given task to actually master it. I don't know if I have 10,000 hours on shoe shining, and I do not consider myself a master at it, but I found the article interesting, especially because it gives a numerical goal that you can try and achieve. Okay, in this case, we will try to develop a burnish on this shoe. I think that it could be something interesting trying. I will go with the lighter cream. I will use light brown to pigment the shoe, and then on the top area of the toe, I will use a little bit of a darker brown with a different hue. I'm gonna use cognac to make the color a little bit different. That's mainly because I want to add a wax burnish. Again, not necessary, but I think it would be interesting for this pair. Always remember to use small amounts, because it's easier to add more because you need it, and there's less of a chance of you over saturating the leather, over conditioning the leather if you start with smaller amounts. If you are unsure what color of cream you need to use, And if you really think that your shoe requires pigmentation, I always suggest that you go with a lighter color or a lighter shade. I'm using here, so I used a light brown. I could have gone with medium brown or dark brown, but I don't want to change the color that much, so that's why I went with light brown. Now, like I commented before, let's add a little bit of a burnishing or a darkening on the shoe. For that, I will add a little bit of cognac, which is a little bit darker color, on the toe. It's very subtle. Don't expect too much of a dramatic change just by the cream itself. Let's see, let's add a little bit of cream. Remember, small amounts, they can definitely do a huge thing. Because of how tight these shoes are, I will use a little brush to make sure I also condition these areas here where it's hard to get just by hand. My fingers are not that small, but I do want to make sure that that leather also gets treated. So I'm going to use this brush to do so. Again, small amounts, you don't need that much. Super small amounts. And then always remember to brush your to wash your brushes every now and then, so that you minimize the risk of transferring color, undesired colors, from one Shoeshine session to another. Okay. I could have gone with a darker color on the toe area, but I think just a small amount of cognac, which is a different color, was enough. I do have blacks in here and darker browns, but I think that subtle changes are better. The idea is just to make it a little bit different, not too much in your face. So let's remove the excess cream that we have left behind using this cloth. show to you how we start and how we finish. See, there's nothing in there. And as we go ahead and rub the cloth against the upper, we will take the excess off. Now why we do this? Because I want this in here and not on my pants, or your pants, depending on who the owner of the shoe is. Again, clean cloth. Because this is the second pass, it wouldn't surprise me if the amount of pigment is minimal upon the cloth. But you can still see that there is some, which is normal. I think it should be good enough. Now let's begin the process of actually shining the shoe. Always use a horse hair brush. Yep. At least that's what I am using right now. I have goat also, which is really soft, and it would be an ideal brush to finish a shoe shine. But right now we're just using the horse brush. Why am I not using black? This English design style of shoe is really sober, and even though we're adding a mirror shine and small burnish, I don't want it to stand out that much. Just to make the shoe a little bit more fun, if you may, not to be in your face. This is burgundy, which is what we will use. This is light brown, and this is dark brown. So we will proceed in layers. The first layer on the complete shoe is gonna be on light brown, as to not change the color itself. We could even try a neutral to actually make sure that the color doesn't change whatsoever. But we'll start with a medium brown, light brown, and then we will go from darker to lighter. So we will try dark brown on the areas close to the stitching and the sole, and gradually move to the Bordeaux or burgundy, to the higher parts of the toe. Just a small detail. Now this is the longest process of this shoe shine session, so bear with me, okay? Remember, small amounts. You don't want to have caking on the whole shoe. The idea of the first layer of wax is just to protect the overall leather of the upper from water, dust, etc., but not so much to do anything else. in the areas where we will develop, we will pursue the mirror shine, in those areas it does make sense to add multiple layers of wax, because the idea is to try and cover the pores so that the light reflection is higher in those areas. Now for the edge of the soles, I will use the dark brown. Again, remember, I'm applying the first layer, which is why I'm using just one finger, the same finger. It's time to spread the subsequent layers of wax, then I will switch between the index finger and the middle finger. Okay, this is layer number 1. Let's go with layer number 2. This is nothing but a protective layer of wax. That is it. How often do you mirror shine your shoes? Well, that will depend on how often you use them, how often you're rotating them. I would suggest maybe 1 mirror shine or 2 mirror shines at the most throughout the year. But then again, that depends on how many times you use the shoe, and after every time you use it, how's the shoe looking? Do you get scuffs because you hit a desk, or you hit a chair when you're driving and you hit a pedal with the mirror shined area, and then you might need to remove it and apply the mirror shine again. Okay, the first 2 layers were applied. I'll try and spread these as much as I can so that there is no accumulation of wax. That is it. So, in order for me to remember the order, I will organize the waxes in the order I want. So this is gonna be darker, medium dark, less dark. So close to the shoe, close to the sole, I mean, sorry. 1 layer. Layer. Burgundy. Burgundy. And I just want the toe area to have the burnish, so on the back heel I'll just use light brown. we will try to do a good amount of layers. +20, I think. We'll see. Layer number 2. I will try my best to keep in mind the number of layers that we're delivering. But then again, this is not an exact science, this is more of an art. So it will be too hard on yourself if you lose track of things. The end result is not what you like, you can strip everything and start again. As long as you enjoy doing it, shouldn't be too much of a trouble. See, I made a mistake there. I think I was supposed to start with the brown on the other one, dark brown. No harm, no foul. This was number 3. Now at this stage I will also start adding some layers to the sole. Can I use a liquid dresser? Sure, but I prefer the waxes and creams. Again, personal preference. When I get shoes and people tell me use liquid dresser, then liquid dresser it is. Now if they allow me to choose, most likely, most of the time, I will choose wax and creams if we're talking about a leather sole. Now if it's rubber, completely different story. I won't even bother trying the waxes on rubber. The sad thing about this is that we won't have a shoe to compare. On the previous video, I think I was using an Alden shoe, I did left one shoe unintentionally without the burnish so that we could see the difference. So once you have both of them with the burnish, it's hard to note difference. Yes, you can go to the beginning, back to the beginning of the video and check how the shoes look before. Once it's there, and because we develop it slowly, it's not as impactful as if I were to cut the video now and then show you the final product. But that's not the idea. The idea is to work together. Hopefully you're all joining me at your house, wherever you are, shining shoes together. So thank you for the invitation to wherever you are. I hope we're having fun. I know I am anyway. I also hope you are. This should be number 4, but number 4 or 5 if I counting is correct. If it is not a big deal. So back to the topic, what do you think about that 10,000 hour figure? For certain activities, it makes complete sense. Certain others, accumulating that much time on something sounds a bit impractical. Nevertheless, because you have a goal, a numerical goal, I think the figure is relevant as long as you have something to account, keep yourself accountable. You should improve whatever activities that you're trying to improve. Let's say that this is number 7. Keep in mind how we are doing it, because if you have an area where you have a darker wax and then you come back with a lighter wax, most likely the lighter wax will end up removing the darker one, because we're doing this in the wet. So in this area, it's not too much of an issue for me because I'm trying to transition so that there's the contrast, the change in color is not so marked, but it's a gradual thing. So I don't care if there's a little bit of transition between the dark brown and the burgundy color here in the toe area. But if I were to use too much of a burgundy going down, I'm pretty certain that it will end up removing what we have in terms of dark brown. This should be wax number 2 for the soles. If you're in here for the shoes, I would like to know which one was your first pair of shoes that you consider high quality shoe. I'd like to also understand the taste of those members that are subscribed to the channel. From the amount of shoes that I received, I can say that mainly I have dealt with shoes that are not mine, that are from Alden, Allen Edmonds, and Merman. All perfectly fine shoes. So please leave a comment. Which one was your first shoe that you consider high quality, and why? That'd be interesting also. Was it because you were still learning? Was it budget wise? It's perfectly fine. I think I started with Shoeshine. Yeah. Obviously that's because I saw my dad wearing Shoeshine. That's why you'll see that in my Instagram account, and also here in the channel there has been several instances where we have shined vintage Shoeshine. They offer good quality when they made the shoes domestically here in the US. I'm not saying that the shoes are not good right now. I'm saying that I prefer the shoes that they made before. You will notice a difference in audio quality of this stance because my microphone just died. So I'm relying on my secondary microphone. I'm sorry about that. This would be number 9 or 10, I think. Again, not 100% sure, but not a big deal either. Small layers of wax. Just be patient with it. And have fun. This is supposed to be fun. Every now and then, take the shoe and make sure that you take a shoe from a different angle and make sure that you are applying wax where you want the wax to be. We'll also shine a couple of ladies' shoes. I've done them before. I've never done them on video, but I mean the same process. It's just that ladies' shoes sometimes they have differences, small differences. Like I did a couple of, I think they were Oxfords from an English maker at the Brogan area on this particular pair of shoes had a butterfly. So the medallion was not a typical medallion, it was a butterfly, which I found really interesting. There's no reason why shoemakers cannot add those kind of details. Some ladies might prefer it, some ladies might not, but I found it endearing. If you check the Instagram account, the channel, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was many months ago. But go check the Instagram account and you'll see they were chestnut or tan color, I think, in a combination of leather and suede. Very stiff number, 12 or 11. Hope you're keeping track. I'm not, I think. Not as much as I should. But then again, like I just said, this is just for fun. Now, if you have a keen eye, you will notice that I'm using mirror gloss for the toe cap area and the regular Saphir and that Dior for the heel. So we'll see if there's a difference in how they shine. They will be because of the contents of different waxes, but you can achieve the overall idea is that you can achieve a mirror shine with either or. This one tend to be easier because of the composition, but you can achieve it with either or. You prefer chiseled designs for shoes? You prefer the typical or the more traditional almond shape? This is rather chiseled. You see it's almost squared, which will not get enough love, that design, I think, anyway, in my opinion. So tell me which design do you like? I think personally the ideal last design for me would be Carmina's Rain design. I like that one. I take no offense if you think that is not to your liking. We're just talking amongst friends here. We are entitled to have different opinions, and it's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, it's what makes the world a more interesting place, that we have different opinions about topics. It also ensures that if you like something and you're having a healthy debate, it ensures that you know what you're talking about, because you have to have enough arguments to sustain, to hold your opinion against a different opinion. Should be 16 or 17, somewhere around there. I think we're getting close. It's not that there is a fixed number that you need to aim for. It's just a numerical reference. The best number, it's up to you to decide. Remember that we still will use wax as we carry on with the process once we bring out the shining cloth. And yes, if you are doubting that, it would be a lot more practical if you just wanted to have that in-your-face effect, to use black. But then again, just using one color, I don't know. Can you do it? Yes. Have I done it? Yes. Do I prefer it now? No. Big shout out to Justin Fitzpatrick, the original OG in terms of Shoeshine. Well, in regards of having channels, I am not 100% sure that he was the first one, but I think he did jumpstart this whole trend of making videos related to shoe shining. Okay, number 3, 4. I think number 3 anyway. For the edges here. So what's your opinion, but these waxes, they smell really nice. I'm not sure if that's something good. It always makes me hungry. So I will say that this is number 17. Yes, no, maybe? I think 17 sounds about right. So from here on, I will only use the dark brown. I think I have enough to develop a transition effect between the the brown and the burgundy. Now remember that I told you that if you use lighter color, it might remove the darker. That's why I feel confident about using the darker color here in the end, the back end of the shoe, the heel, where I only use the lighter brown. I'm not worried about removing any of the previous color. I thought we were gonna go for 20, but I think this is good enough for me. Okay. I will use the hanger projects that's Kirby Allison's store. High Shine chamois. It's a little bit different, tying it around. If you haven't done so, check Kirby Allison's store. They have products. Okay, make sure this is taut so that there is no streaking on the shoe. Apply a little bit of wax and let's have fun with it. Let me put this to the side. The end result will be a very subtle burnish. That's what I want. So by design, there should be a difference in color, but rather subtle. I don't want the darkening to be too strong, too much in your face, because I think that that goes against the whole style of the shoe, which is, like commented before, very sober. English shoes tend to be like that. In contrast, Italian shoes, they're designed a little bit more flashy, which is not bad. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just a different approach to style. I think the English shoes, just like everything else in terms of men attire, it's more about being there but not saying, hey, look at me, I'm here. It's not because of a lack of confidence or anything like that. It's just that they don't want to stand out, maybe. Make sure to also change the angle so that you do not leave an area without the proper mirror shine. Also grab the edges of the sole so that they make the most out of the wax that you delivered. They also develop mirror shine. Circular motions to encompass all of the areas. Then once you've done a little bit of that, you can go for longer straight strides. Again, it's not that it's strictly like that, just a suggestion. You will notice that you do not require that much to start seeing the mirror shine. Take a look. Sorry. It's getting there. Can you add water, a droplet, to the shoe itself? Yes. Yes, you can. At this stage, because I'm manipulating the shoe vertically, makes more sense to me anyway, to add any source of moisture directly to the cloth. That way I can control where the water is. This cloth is so light. It's always very interesting surprise when I compare it to the other fabrics that I use. It's so much light. Real nice. Don't mind me blowing my own tooth, but I'm tracking it. So yes, this is a burnish, not a patina, a burnish. Wax and green burnish. This is less permanent. Sorry about that. I had to take a break for a minute. Let's keep on working on these G&Gs. And let's put this to the side. What do you think? Definitely think we're achieving what we set up to with the mirror shine. Sometimes the question that lingers is when to stop. You can carry on, keep on adding layers to the shoe. It's a matter of personal preference, like everything else, about when to stop. How much of a mirror shine is enough. Again, it's one of those things that perhaps we should develop a standard. It'd be rather tricky though, but just an idea. Try and see where the mirror shine is. Okay. Let's relace the shoes. Well, the first time doesn't work. Try it again. You would have thought that after doing it so many times it just came natural, but no. I still struggle a little bit. See what I'm telling you? Getting distracted here. Nice. There we go. We'll do a couple more passes since now they're laced. I want to make sure that the mirror shine stays. I'll just do a couple of passes more. That should be it. Now this time I will cover a little bit more of the lamp. Just to ensure that everything is tied up. Normally I would do a microfiber towel pass to remove any fingertips that I might have left behind, but I don't have it with me right now, so I'll have to bypass that stage today. Let us then add a little bit more polish water to the brush. And that is how I add a little burnish to a pair of shoes. There's also a mirror shine. But there is more emphasis on the toe caps, where you can see a very discreet increase in darkening colorations in the top. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this creates value to you. Please share. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Have a good day.